Good day everyone. Today I will be discussing the concept of the cell theory. So first, we will answer the question, what level of complexity is necessary for life? So according to Aristotle, 384 to 322 before Christ, matter is composed of unorganized materials, which is the non-living, and organized materials is the living. So in organized materials, we have homogeneous, which is the tissues, and heterogeneous are the organs. I will give the example of these two, the tissues and organs. The example of tissue is this sirloin steak, the muscle tissue. And this example for organs is the kidney longitudinal section. What level of complexity is necessary for life? In 17th century, microscopists discovered tissues were made of cells. This is according to Hooke in 1665 and Leeuwenhoek in 1677. So, what level of complexity is necessary for life? In 17 na ulit, and this is the example of this microscopy discovers. This is the example of tissue na makikita yung cell. So, ito yung cork cells. Nagpapatunay na ang tissues are made of cells. So, cells is in 18th century and 19th century showed that the tissues were made of cells. Ito din yung examples, the liver cells. So, cells of the particular tissue have the common structure. So, what is cell? Cell is taken to its simplest form, a plasma membrane surrounding cytoplasm containing hereditary materials. So, unicellular organism. Some organisms only consist of a single cell. From the word itself, uni or single cell. Pero, carry out all life functions. But these do usually have the components of cell, nucleus, membrane, etc. Example of this unicellular organism is this paramecium. And what are life functions? We have nutrition, metabolism, growth, response, excretion, and homeostasis and reproduction. So, multicellular organism. Ito yung example, the example of this is this development of the chick embryo. What level of complexity is necessary for life? According to Xavier Bichat in 1771 to 1802, an organ is composed of different tissues. Several organs can be grouped together as an organ system. Example for this is the digestive system. And the idea of hierarchy of structure developed into is the cell, tissue, organ system, and organism. So, start sa cell, paakyat sa organism. What level of complexity necessary for life? Pork engine 1835 observed a fertilized hen's egg, a single cell, could develop into an embryo. Many specialized cells in non-compact mass. In 19th century, botanists showed that the plant tissue consists of many different types of cells. So, all living organisms seem to be composed of cells. The cell theory. Matthias Schleden in 1838 and Theodor Schwann said that the cell is the basic unit of living tissue. The cell is an autonomous unit or a citizen grouped together to form an organism that's also called the society. So, Omnicellular, E-Cellula, Remark, and Virchow, 1858, noted that all cells came from pre-existing cells. So, example of cell division is indicated in this photo is Is the cell really that autonomous? Cell is multicellular organism. Multicellular organism is yung from the word itself na multi, hindi siya kagaya nung unicellular na iisa lang yung cell tapos pwede na siyang mag-function. But in multicellular, one or more cells bago siya mag-vital function. In cellular components, some cells lack the basic components, but as a result, their functions are affected. So, example for this is the red blood cells. Plasmodesmata, Strasberg observed cells are connected in an organism sometimes by cytoplasmic bridges. Not all cells seems to be complete contained in plasma membrane. Example of this cytoplasmic bridge is the black sapot or Diospyros fruit. A cellular organism, some organisms do not have cellular compartments. Example for this is the fungal hyphae and the common field mushroom Agaricus bisporus. An example of giant algal cells is the Acetobularia. A cellular tissues is striated muscle fibers. Striated muscles viewed at times 400. Homeostasis, Sherrington and Pavlov neuropsychologists, cells communicate with one another. They are coordinated in an action span dendrites of hippocampus region of the brain, and that show the spines associated with synapses. So this is the tissue culture. Cells can cultured away from a body, but this often requires elaborate support system. The organismal theory, the counter-arguments. Richard, a morphologist, argued that multicellular organism has a structure plan. So, the example for this is the frog embryo and frog embryo fruit mat. So, this is the summary of cell theory and the organismal theory. Multicellular organisms develop from single fertilized germ cell, the zygote. From organisms are not divided into cellular compartment or the non-cellular. 2. In this, the certain cell of basic. All cells came from cells. Cells can taken from organism and cultured away from the body. New individuals can be cultured from isolated cells. So, in organismal theory, number 3 is remove cells from complete multicellular organism requires elaborate life support system to keep them alive. And 4 is homeostatic control and coordination is required to maintain the whole organism, whether it is unicellular or multicellular. Those cell theory or organismal theory that the cell is basic unit living organism is accepted. That unicellular organism carry out all the function of life is accepted. But multicellular organisms are not simply mass of similar independent building blocks. So, history leading up to cell theory is first the compound microscope developed by Zacharias Janssen of Middelburg, Holland around year of 1595. So, this is the microscope developed by Zacharias Janssen in 1595. Robert Hooke. English scientist Robert Hooke published the Micrographia in 1665. In this Micrographia, he illustrated the smallest complete parts of an organism, which he called the cell. The theory that has organisms are made of cells, which are basic structural unit of life. So, si Robert Hooke ang nag-publish ng Micrographia noong 1665. As a multicellular organism grows and develops, it follows structured plans. The cell is specialized. The whole organism shows homeostatic static control. A developing multicellular organism shows emergent properties. It is not just the sum of the parts. So Anton van Leeuwenhoek, his single most important discovery was the existence of the single-cell organism. While using a microscope to examine pond water in 1674, he observed dozens of protozoes, which he called animalcules, as well as Spirogyra or the green algae. The development of cell theory, engaged by Robert Brown, the British botanist, discovered the nucleus of the cell. Robert Brown discovered the nucleus of the cell in 1833. Rudolf Virchow stated that just animals are unable to arise without previously existing animals. Sabi niya, hindi daw mag-i-exist yung animal kung walang nabuhay na animal dati. Cells are unable to arise without previously existing cells. That the idea that new cells arose from pre-existing cells both in disease and healthy tissues was not original. So, the last is Sean Chodder. And Sean Chodder and itong si Matthias Schieden. In 1838, Schieden had stated the plant tissues were composed of cells. Schwann demonstrated the same fact for animal tissues, and 1833 concluded that all tissues are made of cells. So, these two, Matthias Schieden and Theodor Schwann, is the founder of the cell theory.